Welcome to today's video, a 24-hour readathon. I just never assumed that I would do one of these because they just seem so tough and pressurizing. But the reason I am doing one is because I have been in a reading slump for months now. Like, I literally lost count of how many months it has been since I've read properly. Yes, I do read here and there, but I sort of like start a book and then I leave it halfway through, or I just read like 10 pages and never touch it again. And there's so many books that I've like almost finished, but I'm left like quarter way through it, and it's been incredibly frustrating because thing is I create, so I also need to be inspired, and for that you have to like consume as much as you create. You have to like find that balance basically, and I feel like I've just been on the creating end too much, which is not good because after a point you run out of ideas and inspiration. But the thing is, if I am only reading, then I will not have content to produce for YouTube, and if I do work on content, then I cannot read. And so I had this genius idea to merge the two of them together and do a 24-hour reading challenge. That way I can get to reading again, but I also have a video up without missing the schedule, so it just fits perfectly. I think originally the idea was to read continuously for 24 hours, and I feel like that would be more exciting to sort of like pull an all-nighter and read for 24 hours straight. But I have to say, those days are behind me now. I am not stay up until 3 a.m. has a life girl anymore. If I'm not in bed by 10:30 at least, I will become your average Victorian woman. So we are not going to read straight for 24 hours. I think I'm just going to break it up in different chunks and read when I can. And anyway, the point really is to just get me back into reading, get me inspired to read again basically. So I think that just works perfectly well. So yeah, my goal with this is to just get back into reading, be able to critically think again, to observe again, so I can start creating again, but with sort of like renewed inspiration and motivation. I do have a list of books that I want to read. Again, I don't have any sort of pressure that I need to read like 6 books or 7 books or whatever. I'm thinking based on how I read, maybe 5 books I can do, but it also really depends on the content and the length of the book. I don't really do YA fantasy series books a lot. I just read more literary stuff, so I don't know how that's going to work out, because normally after finishing a book I take a break for a few days to like process and reflect on it, but we cannot do that right now. I have to read back to back, which I think will be a new experience, so we have to see how that works out. But anyway, that's a lot of rambling. We are going to start, and the first book that I want to actually finish is this one right here. I started it many months ago, and I'm left with like that much, about 200 pages I believe. So I thought it'd be excellent to start this challenge by finishing this book, because it's just been sitting on my desk since forever, and I really want to finish it, because once one died, I don't know, I just sort of lost interest. Wait, is that a spoiler? I don't think it is. Oh my gosh, is that a spoiler? I think it's a spoiler because I read the book. I read somewhere that 80 pages spoiler, so let me just check. So is this? Okay, it's not spoiler. I mean, it's not, because the first line of the book literally... Oh, this is crazy. Oh, you know what? The first line is actually like the first few lines. The introduction is beautiful. It says, "There's such a thing as the fatal flaw, that showy dark crack running down the middle of a life, exists outside literature. I used to think it didn't." What? Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I'm really sure it's not a spoiler, but anyway, the point is, let's get back to the book. I have some 200 pages to go. I actually thought it's like 20 pages, but it's not. I literally have 200 pages, but that's not too much. I should be able to finish it tonight. It is currently 6:31. Let's get this thing started. Oh my god, wait, I have to... Let's actually set the timer, which is the most important thing. So let's start it. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I have been reading for about 45 minutes now, and I have like 100 pages or so, which is not bad. So I'm hoping I finish this off by tonight. I'm going to have dinner now and resume again afterwards. Okay, it is the next day. Yesterday I finished reading The Secret History. I finished the 200 to 50 pages that were left. So we're done with this big boy. Before we move on to the next book, I want to talk a little bit about this one. I personally really enjoyed this one. They say that it is sort of like an introduction to dark academia. I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite genres ever, but this one is pretty good, so maybe I'm going to like give the other ones a shot. I have to say this has one of the best epilogues I have ever read. It sort of gives Never Let Me Go vibes by Kazuo Ishiguro. Very nostalgic, very reminiscent, and I really appreciate that. Also, I had such a fascination and adoration for Henry from the beginning. I know it's probably not right, but I couldn't help it. There was just something about his intellect. Gosh, I'm really exposing myself here. But there was a point in the book where I was really questioning if I had made the right decision. I was like, boy, are you morally grey or are you just a bad person? I finished the book and I still believe he's morally grey. I mean, it's no justification. They are all, like, the main characters are very insufferable. They're full of themselves, very selfish, so obsessed with the classics and everything ancient. Their morals are literally like out of this world. Like, all of that is there, but I feel like at least in the first half of the book you will really love them. I personally did. And I think my favorite part about this entire book is the main characters and their character arcs. And I think what was interesting is in the first half of the book, they were described in a way the world sees them or wants to see them. They're just like so romanticized and their lives are so glamorous. They're all wealthy, but at the same time, they have this melancholic undertones to them and they're so elitist. And in that sense, I feel like you really want to be a part of that group because of that glamour. But in the second half of the book, you really get to understand their psyches, their motives. And that being said, I think a big problem could be the amount of allusions this book has. It has a ton of references to the classics, especially like Greek mythology and Greek tragedy. It would be better if you have some basic understanding of the classics. Now, of course, like I feel like this is too advanced unless you're like a classic student. It is pretty hard to like catch up with everything that is referenced in the book. There's literally a phrase in Greek or Latin on every other page, and initially I definitely tried to like translate them and look up what they mean, but there was so much of it that I just could not. I gave up. I ignored them. Were they important? They probably were. I wouldn't know, but it was just a lot. Either way, I feel like you still have to reflect and research on it after you're done reading the book if you want to critically think about it and analyze it. Also, there's this quote by Francis which I love. I think it's like my favorite thing in the entire book. I read it yesterday and I really want to read it to you guys. So Francis says this: maybe that's why I tend to equate physical beauty with qualities with which it has absolutely nothing to do. I see a pretty mouth or a moody pair of eyes and imagine all sorts of deep affinities, private kinships. Never mind that half a dozen jerks are clustered round the same person just because they've been duped by the same pair of eyes. What? That is so beautifully written. Like, oh my gosh. I just love it. And I think especially because I've been thinking a lot about beauty, physical beauty, in context of love, intimacy, connection, vulnerability. And to be reading that at this point in my life, I could just relate to it so much. Like, it spoke to my soul. And I think that's like the beauty of literature, especially if you come across certain books or characters or phrases that just really connect you because you are experiencing that in your reality. It's so amazing. It's literally divine. I literally had to pause for 5 minutes and just think about it because the way the author articulates that, it's like she speaks what I want to say. But anyway, that was a little bit of tangent. I really wanted to share that one phrase. I am going to rate this book 4.5 on 5, especially when you look at it from the perspective of academia, classics, the elitism. I think it's got it all. I really enjoyed it. The only downside is it's lengthy. It gets a little slow in the middle. Not boring. I really like her writing. In the middle, I feel like you could lose interest, but it's so worth it if you continue on. That was a long rant on The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Next one I'm going to read is Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. I've been seeing this everywhere and it's really short. It's like 250 pages, which is nothing. Like, look at the difference. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be reading. I have like 20 hours 28 minutes to go, so let's begin reading again. What? Gosh, it's so descriptive and disgusting. Okay guys, I just wanted to give a small update. It's going to be 7:30 soon and I have finished that much of Cursed Bunny. I think I read like 175 pages. I still have 75 pages to go. I can't even calculate this, but we have like 17 and a half hours to go. I was hoping I would finish this book today, but this is very slow progress. I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them out of 10, which is not bad. So yeah, I am going to go out right now and I don't think I'm going to come back and read, so we're just going to have to resume from tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I'll just make a lot more progress because I don't want to do it for like a whole week, but let's see. We are done with The Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung and it's translated by Anton Her, and I really liked it. So it's basically like a collection of 10 short stories. You will find literally every genre in here. Honestly, don't know what I was expecting going in, but I really enjoyed it. Like with each short story, it was just getting better and better. So these stories, like, they talk about trauma, especially childhood trauma, the power structures in the society, abuse, power dynamics in a family, also family institution. How does that affect an individual's identity, their lives, their futures? It's just so phenomenally written. I just find short stories very fascinating because you do not have as much space as a novel, but you still have to drive your point home, and she's done such a phenomenal job with it. And also the translation is really good. Sometimes I find translations to be a little awkward, and it is by no means a comment on the translator's work or the superiority of the English language. I just think when you translate from one source to the other, it's such a hard job because you have to like keep the meaning and the essence of the original text, its form and structure, but also when you're translating, the original text becomes the translator's text too. Sometimes I just feel like if you are used to reading in the English language, you can find like translated works to be just a little awkward sometimes, but this was quite smooth. I have 3 favorite ones out of the 10. The first one is called Goodbye My Love, and it's actually like a sci-fi. Sci-fi is like my least favorite genre. I'm not kidding, I just don't enjoy it, but this literally became one of my favorite stories. It was just so nicely written. I loved the plot. Another one is called Ruler of the Winds and Sand. My favorite of all is the last one called Reunion. Oh my gosh, like I just loved it so much. It was just packed with so much of meaning, so much to think about. Like I was just blown away by it. And she does is she also like writes the lyrics of the song. I don't know what the song is. I don't know if it's like a real song. I would love to look it up. And I don't know, the lyrics are so beautiful. I just want to read like a bit of it because I just love it so much. So the lyrics go, if I could make a wish, I wouldn't know what to say. What should I wish for? The bad times or the good times? The author continues after this. I had no hope anymore for good times, but I didn't want to wish for bad times either. That that is so heartbreaking. The reunion one is, it has my whole heart, and it's just one of those stories I will like randomly think about out of nowhere and probably cry. It's just so beautiful. And it's also really cool because August is Women in Translation month, and I just read Women in Translation book. Oh my god, also, you know what is sick? There is a Korean word in this book and I can read it. Like I can read a little bit of Hangul. So it's right here. Can you see it? So it says Mumhada. And why does it sound wrong when I say it out loud? It was so much better in my head. But anyway, the point is I can read the alphabet. We're done with the second book and we have like what, 16 hours to go still. I am not sure what I want to read next. Okay, so I have a few options. The first one is My Pen is the Wing of a Bird. This is an Afghan literature and I've heard really good stuff about it, so I do want to read that. The next option is Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. I've been wanting to read this since forever. That, or it's actually raining outside right now and I started a little bit of Alone with You in the Ether, so I don't know if I want to read this. I'm actually really confused. I think I'm going to read Alone with You in the Ether just because the weather calls for it, and also because I started like 5-6 pages of it. So yeah, let's do this. I'm going to actually have lunch now and then I'm going to start with Alone with You in the Ether. You guys, what is this book? I I am literally a giggling, blushing mess right now because okay, I just finished reading Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. How do we still have 5.5 hours to go? I will not understand. We are having a little existential crisis moment right now because apparently I still have 5.5 hours to go. That is so unfair. That is so unfair because I have been reading for 4 days straight and I've read 4 books, but it feels like I've been reading since birth. I want to quit. I don't know how people do these challenges. I don't know how people read books back to back. Like they are done with one and then they pick up the next one and they just start reading. How do you do that? Oh my gosh, because I am so overwhelmed right now. And overwhelmed is an understatement. I need to find a heavier word that can describe my situation. But guess what? I cannot. because my brain is not functioning anymore. Because I had to make it very hard for myself, I did not pick nice YA, fantasy, series sort of books, which I think are much easier to get through because they're fun, they are light-hearted. You can just flip through the pages and you're done and time flies by. But no, I picked intense books that were complex and traumatizing. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I do know I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I'm not going to pick a heavy book. I'm going to pick up something stupid and light. Definitely not a short one because I don't want to finish it and realize I have more time and I don't even know what I want to read because I wasn't anticipating the fifth book. I know I said that I wanted to read My Pen is the Wing of a Bird, but that is intense and my brain, like, it cannot take any of that anymore. I think I'm going to take a nap. I want to sleep. I don't want to think. I don't want to have any thoughts. So yeah, I'm just going to come back on again once I've regained my sanity, and then I'm going to update you as to what book I picked. Okay, so basically we have two options. We have Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, and we have Vineet Bajpayee's Harappa Curse of the Blood River. This is the Harappa trilogy. This one's murder mystery, crime thriller, psychological thriller, and this one is mythology and fantasy with crime. So I think I'm gonna go with this one just because I haven't read any book from an Indian author in this challenge, so I think this would be better. This is not like her most famous work. It's not like Murder in the Orient Express or something, so I think I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah. So let's just start with our final book. Yay! I still have 48 minutes to go, but I don't care. I don't care. We are done. Okay, you guys, we are done with the 24-hour reading challenge. I read a total of 5 books in the span of 4 to 5 days. I'm not sure. I read a quarter of The Secret History, which I'm just going to count it as a whole book. I read The Cursed Bunny, which I actually don't have it with me right now. I also read Alone with You in the Ether, Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, and Harappa. What a challenge it has been. Oh my gosh. I think for the first 2 books I was okay. I was actually having fun, and then by the time I was about to complete Alone with You in the Ether, I was dead. But we're done. I mean, as done as it can get because I know I still have 48 more minutes to go. I could probably read a poetry collection or a play, but I don't want to do that. It is okay. It's fine. It's fine. We don't care. I'm okay. I'm okay with not finishing the entire thing completely. I am so done. I haven't talked about the last 3 books that I read, so I want to share some things with you guys. First one is Alone with You in the Ether. This is a love story, as the book says, between 2 seemingly difficult people. So we have the girl, she is called Regan. She's an artist and she's undergoing a court-ordered treatment for bipolar disorder. The guy is a recovering addict, I think, who is obsessed with theoretical mathematics, and so this is the story of these 2 very different people coming together because they are meant to. Aldo is such a nice character. He's written so nicely, especially like in the beginning of the book. I love Regan so much. There were so many bits when I related to her a lot. She's just so complex and so real, and oh my god, the intimacy, she has written it so beautifully. I was just blown away. I was giggling, I was blushing. It was just so wholesome, and this is like a non-sexual intimacy, and oh wow, it was amazing. The chemistry was just amazing. It was so precious. My only problem is that I felt like the transition to the more fiery, passionate romance just happened very quickly and out of the blue. It was like a slow build, and I was enjoying that pace, and all of a sudden it's like boom, they did it. And another problem I have, which I think I just have with every love story, is that the under-representation of many other connections in one's life. These guys did not have any friends. The girl has problems with her family, which is understandable. I like that concept, but like literally they make no efforts in developing healthy friendships or community. It's just they are consumed with each other, and I feel like that can really turn into an obsession, which is often romanticized in love stories. I mean, I get it, it's like a fantasy of sorts, but in reality it rarely ever happens. And even if it does, I don't think it's good that you just have a lover that you're obsessed with and that is enough for you. I wish there were more people involved in different kinds of connections, especially friendships. That being said, overall it's a very beautiful book. I think it articulates the idea of soulmates really well. It's sort of like otherworldly, and that's what I think the book is so grounded in reality, in the sense that the grip of our past mistakes, behaviors have on us and the relationships we have with people, but at the same time it's so otherworldly. And I really love her writing style. It's a bit fast and sometimes it puts a strain on the brain, but I think that's what allows us to get inside the psyche of the characters, which I think is so important, especially for a book like this. So yeah, it's intense, it's passionate, and I'm personally in love with the title of the book, like Alone with You in the Ether. It just sounds so romantic. I'm gonna give it a 4 on 5. This is actually really good the more you think about it. Okay, so the next one is Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Henderson. So this is a coming of age story of a lesbian, Jeanette, the author. So it's like auto fiction, and it's set in an English community probably in the 60s. So she takes us along the journey of her life from her childhood, when she's adopted by a very Christian lady, her relationship with her mom and how close she is to her, and how close she is to the church and its members and God, to learning about love and boys and marriage and being really confused about it, to having her first crush, falling in love but not with a boy, not understanding the meaning and consequences of it, especially in a religious context. It's a commentary on organized religion, the hypocrisy of it, sex, mother-daughter relationship, adolescent love. It is so tender and so heartbreaking. She learns all these hard truths about her mother as she grows up, and navigating what that means to the relationship she shares with her, she has shared with her up until now, and redefining faith, redefining what it means to her as an adult. Although this is her story, there are underlying themes of race and imperialism. This will literally be one of my favorite books ever, and I'm going to give it a 5 on 5 because it deserves it. Okay, and the last one I read, Harappa, Curse of the Blood River by Vinny Bajpai. So this is like a mythological thriller. It is all about the legendary Harappan civilization, the Indus Valley civilization. The story of the present time, which is 2017 basically, and the main protagonist is this guy called Vidyut, and it also spans across various different timelines, but specifically the 1700 BCE, during the existence of the Harappan civilization. It talks about the Sanatan Dharma, the Hindu way of life, the Vedic way of life, just different truths surrounding it. I don't want to spoil it too much. What has been propagated about it, what actually happened, and stuff like that about its perishing basically. I loved the idea and the concept of this book. I think it's very important to have such works. We've been always taught about colonialism, the white supremacy, the Aryans and stuff. So this is like a really empowering perspective to understand the roots better. I know it's fiction, but I also do know there are some truths to it. I personally really enjoyed the premise of the story. I think it's very important. Now, that being said, I did not like the writing style one bit, and I really want to touch upon this point of the difference between men's and women's writing style. All the other books I read are written by women, and he's the only guy. And the shock I got when I started reading it, it's so much of emphasis on the physicality of the characters. Every time a character is brought up, he's just going to describe something about the character, right? So if it's a male, then like, oh, he's broad-chested, or he is so tall, he is so strong. Or if it's a woman, then like, quite slim and attractive body, beautiful brown hair, watery eyes, and I'm just like, Yeah, you already explained that before. Can we move on, please? I wish the writing was better. Also, there's like a lot of contradiction in the way he wants to talk about women and he actually portrays women. The way he describes his characters is not aligned with the empowerment that he's trying to give them, right? So they are just, I don't know, there's some dialogues which I was just, they were just cringe. Oh my god. Also, the main character, okay, he's with his girlfriend before, like, he goes to this quest basically, and he's still with his girlfriend, but then he meets his childhood friend and realizes that she is in love with him, but also he's attracted to her. And fine, okay, we will take that. Okay, we will take that because attraction is very normal. You can be with someone and still be attracted to someone else, but he acts on it. He like cheated on the girlfriend, and I don't care what anybody says. If you've read the book, like, we could talk about it, but that is cheating, especially when you don't tell your girlfriend about it. But also he talks of the girlfriend as like his other half when he's still like really attracted to his childhood best friend that he hasn't talked to in like 3 decades, but just because she's so beautiful and she's not like the plum, he's attracted to her. I don't know, it's so messed up, you guys. Like, I did not, what the fuck are you trying to do? I mean, I honestly was an okay read. This is a trilogy, so there's like 2 more books that follow. I am not sure if I'm going to read them. I love the concept, but I wish better stuff was done with it. I'm going to give it like a 3. Yeah. And all the 3 points are just for the concept of the book and not what is written in it. So yeah, that was the 24-hour readathon. Am I going to do it again? Probably not, unless I want to suffer. But this has taught me that I should just read at a normal pace and not procrastinate, not read for months and then try to read everything. Like, this is what happens. This is like a great lesson for me. That is the end of this challenge. Thank you so much for you guys if you've watched until the end. If you have read any of these books or if you are wanting to read them, please do let me know in the comments. What do you think about them? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Or if your opinions differ from mine, we could talk about it. That'll be fun. We are going to end the video here. Thank you for being here and have a lovely day. Read some good books.